Hello darling, welcome to another broadcast. Today's video is going to be about circumstances do not matter. And the reason I want to talk about this is because I do feel as though many people that, although they're in the manifestation world, right, that there's so many people, and myself included at the very start of it, but I talked to you yesterday on the video about why I've now discovered why it's so difficult for people to transition and to really fully live in the end, which is one of the things that Daddy Neville Goddard talks about, which is, I mean, yeah, I'm being funny. I call him Daddy Neville Goddard. I love that he's a Pisces as well, just like myself. But so all bits aside, the main reason that people struggle with manifesting is because they struggle with believing that a circumstance do not matter. And the reason for this is because 9 times out of 10, it's their self-concept is not very good. And this comes into play often with people that are raised in religion. And the reason I sound like I'm banging on about religion is because I think that all is well and good, but it's often done more harm for people than good. And that's a ballsy thing to say. I know that's absolutely ballsy for me to say, but I really do believe that because it's taught people to feel so powerless, and it's taught women, especially because I focus on women and young women, that religion taught us not believe that we are as wonderful and as important as we actually are. And so it's been this whole thing of putting women down and making women feel as though they're inferior to a man. And that's something that people, you know, if women struggle with that, which I've seen that often, not just in the law of attraction ways, but in the law of assumption ways, but it's something that every woman and every person really, even if you are a man and you've not struggled with that, you have probably struggled with religion to a degree. This is why we have people that actually come unglued or really go against religion, because it's been such a traumatic experience for them in their lives, where something may have happened or they were shamed in their particular church, called out for reasons that, like for asking too many questions or they're more intelligent than the people that were in charge at the time, you know? So this comes with loads and loads of restrictions on people that are in religion, because women in particular are taught that there is a God outside of you. There's this man and he's, you know, hangs and dangles his feet on a little cloud. And if you are not deemed worthy enough, there's all these rules. There's all these rules that you have to follow. And this isn't true. This is all made up stuff from man to keep people in subjection, okay? And so this is why people, especially women, struggle so much of the time with manifesting, because we were taught when we were little, remember I was talking yesterday about beliefs, that you don't have power to do that or this or manifest this or, you know, attract that or whatever, however you want to deem what you want to manifest, right? Some people are really firm believers in an Abraham Hicks concept, which I've listened to her for years. And I do think that there are numerous and many wonderful things that she's got to say, or the collective has to say. However, to me personally, I couldn't get past feeling as though I'm having to wait on the universe to give me what I want instead of manifesting, me being the operant power, which is what Neville Goddard talks about, that we are the God of our reality. No one else, we don't need anyone outside of us to give us what we want or what we dream of having or desire. There's nothing that we cannot have, you know? And so this becomes the rub for people, because, you know, there's this passive way of feeling that you're living the law of attraction that I don't find empowering. I think it's very disempowering. So that's why I also love Neville, because Neville gives you the freedom to realize through scripture and through breaking it down that it's not literal scripture, that it is a metaphor for your life. It does not mean, you know what I mean? Like all of the words used, the way that he has broken it down is absolutely, unbelievably the most wonderful thing that I have ever set my eyes on as far as reading. And it squares your whole life away. Once you recognize, and you're like, it's almost like the blinders come off and the scales come off your eyes, and you're like, you can't unsee it. You can't not know what this is about anymore. And when you recognize that you have all of the power within you, that you no longer walk around the world thinking, oh, well, I would really love to manifest a beautiful home in this particular country and this particular way. And, oh, I want it to have a thatched roof, and I want it to have a stone exterior, and I want to live in the countryside, and I want to have 20 acres, and I want to have this, and da-da-da-da, right? You know that you don't need to know someone. You don't need to wait until you have the money to do it. You don't have to wait until like, oh, I have to get accepted through and get a visa. Oh, so I'm going to have to go through that whole thing. No, circumstances do not matter. And here's a prime example. And I thought that I would give you, I was looking at the time. I wanted to give you an example of how circumstances do not matter. So I manifested, people call it your SP, specific person. Okay, I just call it my twin flame. Now, when I manifested my twin flame, Jeffrey Sean, my specific person, I didn't know exactly. I had no visualized person per se in my mind that I was manifesting, but that person, specific, that SP, had to have all of these things. And when I did not waver, and I finally decided that I was manifesting my twin flame, I didn't care. I was done with circumstances. I was done with thinking about all of that stuff. I had gotten fed up. And a lot of times we have to do that, or surrender, just surrender it, you know? And I'm going to tell you all of the things that were in my way, and I'm sure that I will forget some. But when I tell you that I manifested my SP in 8 weeks, that circumstances don't matter. It does not matter when you know how to work the law of assumption. And I tell you these things because I want you to recognize the power within you. I want you to know that you can count on you. That I want you to bring everything back in your life to creating the life that you love back into yourself. That you're the one that gets to have all the credit because you're the one that did it. No one else did it for you. You did it. And it builds your confidence. It helps you to become an empowered person. And this is how it happens. Over time, and the more you recognize that you've manifested this and you've manifested that, that you are indeed the operant power, that you are the God of your reality. And there's nothing more beautiful than that, because I want that for all women, because I know what it feels like to feel powerless. So that's why I'm such a, an advocate for it, for mental health and for self-empowerment and self-worth and a good self-concept and confidence and all of that. And so at the time, let's back up a bit, okay? So this was I had been wanting, but I never knew about law of attraction. I didn't know about manifesting or anything. I had been introduced to it at numerous times throughout my life. But because I was a religious person, you're taught in most religions, do not seek outside of your scriptures. Because if you start to do that and you go into someone that might like tarot cards, or you start liking crystals, or you start, asking around other than the people that are deemed, authority figures in your life, in your congregation or your church or whatever, you are deemed that that's inappropriate. Don't do that, because that's how Satan, which is so ridiculous, gets in there. But that's actually a lie. That you've been lied to, okay? Let me just tell you, darling, you've been lied to the entire time. Well-intended as they may have been, no, you were lied to. So that is to keep you down, okay? So progress onwards to from about 2000, I'm thinking about 2004 is when it would it started on occasion to permeate within my mind and my heart. And I never said anything to anyone. Obviously, I've told you this many times on videos, that I was listening to wonderful, like Tony Robbins way back in the day, like in the 90s. I was reading his books and stuff like that. And I was only in my 20s, right? And I had just got married, when I was 19. I just turned 19. And I was realizing, like, I used to think on those sparse occasions, I don't think this is how you're supposed to be in a marriage. Like, this just doesn't feel good. Like, I'm constantly on eggshells. I'm constantly feeling unhappy. And I'm trying to strive always to be perfect. And nothing is working. Nothing works. So 2000, like all through the 2000s, in 2009, I had left my ex-husband for 6 months and moved in with one of my single friends across the street. So we lived in a gated community and all of our kids went to school together and all of that. So I would just buzz over to the house after the husband had left, so I didn't have to intermix with him. And I would, because I wanted to get a divorce then, and I was definitely going to do it. And this was in 2009, because I had had an emotional affair with his best friend. Yes, I did. And so I was really, that wasn't the only reason. Obviously, there were other problems. There had been adultery from the word go, from the very beginning when I had gotten married. Even when we dated, he was adulterous. You know what I mean? And so I guess I just blacked all of that out. But I finally recognized and realized I did not want to be in that marriage anymore. I would have never had an emotional affair had I had everything in my marriage that I wanted. Do you understand? So, not that I'm excusing that, but what I'm telling you is this is what happens because we'll go outside of a marriage if we feel there's no other way that we can get out of it. So, several years pass and I moved back in. I moved back home. And it still didn't work. I still had those feelings but I was still really hung up in religion, okay? So I was really, really still trying to, be a good person and go to church and do all the things, follow the commandments and all of that sort of thing. So I ended up faltering because it's very difficult. It takes a lot of courage to do what I did. And I am no more bashful about it because it is very, very difficult to do what I did. So in the meantime, all this time, I'm starting to learn about Abraham Hicks and spirituality. And I had always been into self-development, but never manifestation and law of attraction and all of that. And so I just started doing that on the side and wasn't telling my mate or anyone that I was doing it because they would have said something to me and told me, no, you can't be doing that, And so that's when I started to recognize I could create this and okay, I'm going to this is what I'm going to do. So I had been working on myself for a year. And this was my situation literally when I was manifesting my twin flame, because when that whole emotional affair went kaput, and regardless of what you would ever hear, I never know, that reality show come out and everything, and people might say, oh yeah, she had an affair, because everyone made up rumors that I had an adulterous affair and all of that. And you can say, well, that is an affair. Yeah, it is. It's probably worse than just a physical affair, right? That's what I've been told. That's what I've heard. And I probably believe that to a degree. But I did not ever And there was rumors about me that was the case, but that wasn't true. Regardless, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it was true or not. But what I'm telling you right now is that I'm using my voice because people have lied on me for too long and I'm not having it. Do you understand? That's why I want to tell the truth, because I don't want people lying about me. Like, I know they're going to get their karmic debt for that, but I'm here to set the record straight because I'm a very authentic person and I'm real, you know? So I was in a 25 plus, almost 25-year marriage. We had just moved and signed a lease and had a house. You know, I had never worked outside. I mean, I had worked, but I didn't have a career. I was not a college graduate. I had children. I mean, they were older, but I'm telling you that about the circumstances, that I had no way to make money. I was in a state I could not stand. I didn't want to live there. I wanted to live near the water. I had been talking and visualizing secretly all of the things that I wanted my twin flame to have. And I didn't know. Like, when I would think of it, I tried not to think of it. The only thing that I did was think about what was happening in that moment. I literally pretended and lived in the end as if I was already in that. And you might say, well, that's very difficult to do when you don't have it. You don't see it. It's not here. It's not pliable. It's not tangible. You can't see it, Raquel. I understand that. But that's where your imagination comes in, because we're all imagination. That is what God is your imagination. Okay? Do you understand? Everyone can do it. Some people can do it easier than others, but everyone has the capacity to do it. You did it when you were little. You did it when you were born. You always have done it. That's how you manifest. Okay? So I just lived in the end. I love my twin flame. He is so wonderful. This is what I would do in my mind when I'm washing dishes and picking the kids up in carpool. I would say these things. Instead of listening to the radio, I would say these things to myself. He adores me. He's so wonderful. He has dark, curly hair. He has a sharp nose. He loves gardening. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And the universe knows how to do all of these things that we love, that we can't fathom how it's going to come to be. We could not in a million years, in 20 lifetimes, figure out how it's going to come about. But none of those things were circumstances that mattered to the universe. The universe is capable of doing anything, right? I had all of those barriers. I had no clue. I was just like, there would be moments when I would let it slip and I would just be like, I don't know how in the world this is ever going to happen. Because I was out west. There was no water, nowhere near an ocean. We had just signed a lease on a brand new, beautiful home in a gated community. I had the children. One was coming back from a mission. I still had 2 high schoolers. My own husband didn't even know that I'm like planning this for a year, like I'm divorcing him. No one knew. And I was like thinking, how is that going to go? Like, he's going to freak out. Like, everybody's going to lose their mind. My family, no one knew. My children, not my friends. I had briefly spoken of it, just kind of nonchalant to a friend. Obviously, she is no longer a friend. But all of those things. How was I going to make money? I didn't even have a job. I had no place to live. What was I going to do? Where was I going to go? And you know what? When I kept just drilling that into my head over and over and over and over, and just imagining and thinking of the end, oh my God, it's going to be so wonderful. I love having a twin flame. That's all I thought about. Everything that I thought about made me super duper happy. I followed my bliss. I always followed my bliss. If I start to think in negative or like really sad or something, you switch your thoughts. You go distract yourself. Go on a walk. Go take the dogs on a walk. Go water your garden. Go pick weeds. Go mop your kitchen. Find something to do that you are distracted. If you cannot think of your desire and you're thinking of it negatively, okay? That's what I want you to do. Remember, do not think of it negatively. Only follow your bliss. So everything that I do, as long as I'm following my bliss, it doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with manifesting my twin flame. I would find things to do, like I'm going to go to the lake and watch the swan swim. I'm going to take a ride to the park on my bicycle and I'm going to shoot a video for the YouTube. All of these things led me to my manifestation of my SP. So do you understand? It doesn't have to mean that just because it's this way, that's the only way. That's the narrowed way of how I'm going. I have to focus on this SP or else I'm not going to get the SP. No. Abraham talks about this explicitly. And one time, especially when I went to one of her workshops, that as long as you're following your bliss and following your happiness, you will get the manifestation. It does not matter whether that's not the subject matter, because it's all lining up to give you, because you're in a happy state. So that's what's manifesting, is the following your bliss, following your bliss, following your happy, following your happy. Okay? And so that is what I want you to understand, is that I had all of these things. I had no money, nowhere to go, and it all fell into my lap. It all fell into my lap. And I could have never predicted how it actually turned out and how it happened. Now, if you would like that story, give me a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments if you would like for me to share that descriptive, and I'll do a long version of it, of that story, because I want you to know that circumstances don't matter, because I understand what it feels like when you're constantly bombarded with something that you want really, really badly. It's very difficult to get to your desire. So it's very difficult to let go of it, because you think that letting go of it means you're not going to get it, or the universe is going to convince you, or you're going to be convinced that the universe is like, oh, she's so happy. That means she doesn't need her manifestation. No. That doesn't mean that at all. It does not mean that, love. I want you to recognize that there's no way you can't not get your manifestation. And you will get your SP, okay? I want you to recognize that. You will get them. But there's certain little tactics that you need to do that I'm trying to help you. Just pretend I'm your, mermaid mystic grandmummy, okay? Because I know there's loads of people, younger and all that, but the advantage that I have is I've been through lots of things in life, loads and loads of things in life, and so I can help you and help you to, to settle you, because oftentimes when we're manifesting, it's very difficult to not recognize how I will assist and teach you in how to calm and balance your nervous system out, because that's all this life is about, is keeping an equal balanced nervous system. And when you're manifesting, sometimes you just get completely bombarded and overwhelmed, and you just want to give up, because if you're not balanced and your nervous system is all out of whack because you've been, really, really pushing this manifestation, and usually it's because people are telling you, like, affirm, and this is not the way to do it. I'm trying to give you a simplistic version of something that is so much more less work. Don't need to work so hard, loves. You don't need to work so hard. But anyway, like I said, if you have any questions, or if you derive some benefit from this video, I'm so happy that you did. And if you would give me a thumbs up, that would be wonderful, because it helps the algorithm to pull my video up, to put it into more people's eyes. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, that would be absolutely quite lovely, and I would be Kong Shell Pink if you would do that for me. And we're going to have a whale of a time. I hope you subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you on the next broadcast. And always, I'm most affably yours to my next swim. Cheers, darling.